In this lecture, we are going to be introduced to the concept of wisdom and wisdom literature. More than anything else in the Bible, wisdom is a theme that we find very strongly cross-culturally. Most cultures have a concept of what is the wise life. And ponder as we look at some of that cross-cultural material in the ancient world, what kinds of themes come up, what kinds of concerns, and ask yourself, how do they relate to what we find in the Bible and in biblical wisdom literature? I thought just for fun I would Google definitions or quotes about wisdom from all over the place. Some of them are funny, some of them are serious. Some of them are from sort of pop culture, some of them are from, great teachers. Cicero, who was a Latin writer, believed that the function of wisdom is to discriminate between good and evil. George Burns, who you probably haven't heard of, who was a early 20th century comedian, says, "Too bad that all the people who really know how to run the country are busy driving taxicabs and cutting hair." Immanuel Kant, a philosopher, said that science is organized knowledge, wisdom is organized life. Mark Twain, 19th century author, "The perfection of wisdom and the end of true philosophy, in other words, the goal of true philosophy, is to proportion our wants to our possessions, our ambitions to our capacities. We will then be a happy and a virtuous people." Robert Heinlein, a 20th century science fiction writer, said, "But goodness alone is never enough. A hard, cold wisdom is required, too, for goodness to accomplish good. Goodness without wisdom invariably accomplishes evil." Stephen Vincent Benet, a writer and poet, "We thought because we had power, we had wisdom." Confucius, "Real knowledge is to know the extent of one's ignorance. To practice 5 things under all circumstances constitutes perfect virtue. These 5 are gravity, generosity of soul, sincerity, earnestness, and kindness." Claude Lévi-Strauss, a academician in anthropology, said, "The wise man doesn't give the right answers, he poses the right questions." Oliver Wendell Holmes, a politician and thinker of an earlier time, "It is the province of knowledge to speak, and it is the privilege of wisdom to listen." St. Augustine said, "Patience is the companion of wisdom." There is a lot of ancient wisdom literature from Egypt, from Mesopotamia, that has been found. And among a lot of that literature are sort of similar themes to what we find in biblical wisdom literature. Ptahhotep, which is the 5th dynasty, the Pyramid Age, is one of the earliest. This would have been in the 3rd millennium BCE. Here begins the Proverbs of fair speech, spoken by the hereditary chief, the Holy Father, beloved of the God, the eldest son of the king, etc., when instructing the ignorant in the knowledge of exactness in fair speaking. He said to his son, "Be not proud because thou art learned, but discourse with the ignorant man as with the sage. For no limit can be set to skill, neither is there any craftsman that possesseth full advantages. Fair speech is more rare than the emerald that is found by slave maidens on the pebbles. If thou find an arguer talking, one of this that is well disposed and wiser than thou, let thine arms fall, bend thy back, be not angry with him. Refrain from speaking evilly. If he address thee as one ignorant of the matter, thine humbleness shall bear away his contentions. In the Middle Kingdom of Egypt, we have the instructions for Merakare. Be skillful in speech, that you may be strong. It is the strength of the tongue, and words are braver than all fighting. Copy your forefathers, for work is carried out through knowledge. See, their words endure in writing. Open that you may read and copy knowledge. Even the expert will become one who is instructed. Do not be evil, for patience is good. Make your lasting monument in the love of you. Multiply the people whom the city has enfolded. Then will God be praised because of rewards. Men will watch over something and give thanks for your goodness, and your health will be prayed for. In the New Kingdom, later in Egypt, we have the instructions of Ani. Do not enter the house of anyone unless he admits you and greets you. Do not snoop around in his house, lest let your eye observe in silence. Beware of a woman who is a stranger, one not known in her town. Don't stare at her when she goes by. Do not know her carnally. This is a theme that we also find in the book of Proverbs. One of the most important of the Egyptian wisdom texts, because of its relationship to the book of Proverbs, is the instruction of Amenemope. It begins the beginning of the instruction about life, the guide for well-being, all the principles of official procedure, the duties of the courtiers, skipping down to set one straight on the paths of life and make him prosper on earth. And then we have a lot of things that are very, very similar to what we find in Proverbs. Beware of stealing from a miserable man and of raging against the cripple. Do not stretch out your hand to touch an old man, nor snip at the words of an elder. Don't let yourself be involved in a fraudulent business. Not desire the carrying out of it. Do not get tired because of being interfered with, nor return an answer on your own. Do not displace the surveyor's marker on the boundaries of the arable land, nor alter the position of the measuring line. Again, we find this same thing in the Bible. Do not be greedy for a plot of land, nor overturn the boundaries of a widow. Again, very similar to what we find in biblical, both law, both the legal texts and wisdom. Third line down, better is the bushel which the God gives you than 5,000 deceitfully gotten. Better it is to be praised as one loved by men than wealth in the storehouse. Better is bread when the mind is at ease than riches with troubles. Do not unbalance the scale, nor make the weights false, nor diminish the fractions of the grain measure. This again we find in the Bible. Do not jeer at a blind man, nor tease a dwarf, neither interfere with the condition of a cripple. Do not taunt a man who is in the hand of the God, nor scowl at him if he errs. This refers to people who are sort of a little bit out of their minds. Do not expose a widow if you have caught her in the fields, nor fail to give way if she is accused. Do not turn a stranger away from your oil jar, that it may be made double for your family. The God loves him who cares for the poor more than him who respects the wealthy. You can see some of the major themes here have to do with how one treats the weak, also a very strong biblical theme. We can line up the book of Proverbs, especially Proverbs 22 through 24, with many of these sayings in the wisdom of Amenemopet. So, for example, there is the appeal to hear, the purpose of instructions, 30 sayings, learning a worthy response, do not rob a wretched person, avoid friendship with violent people, a trap may ruin you, do not remove landmarks, skillful scribes will be couriers, eat cautiously before an official, wealth flies away like birds, do not eat a stingy person's food, vomiting will result, careful who you speak in front of, do not remove widows' landmarks, rescue the condemned. Here is the instruction of Aunt Shashanki. Some of them are actually kind of funny. Do not often get drunk, lest you go mad. Better a statue of stone than a foolish son. As for a man who smells of myrrh, his wife is a cat before him. Better a noble failure than a half success. Silence hides incompetence. And this one would not be very popular. Teaching a woman is like having a sack of sand with its sides split open. Probably not one we want to emulate. If a woman loves a crocodile, she will take on its character. And do not laugh at a cat. Not sure about that last one.